My parents stole my identity to fund my brother, so I unmasked the fraud and garnished their pay. Hey, here is how my parents wrecked my life just so they could play saviors for their adopted kid. We decided today can be a celebration for both of you. Pierce's birthday is next month, so it just made sense. That is what my mom said to me in front of 14 of my classmates at Gino's Pizzeria on my 16th birthday, the one birthday they actually planned for me. The first time in years I did not have to lie about why I could not have friends over. I am standing there watching them wheel out a chocolate cake. I hate chocolate. Always have. Pierce knows this. My parents know this. But Pierce loves chocolate, and Pierce gets what Pierce wants. I looked at this kid, not even my blood, grinning at me from across the table with that rehearsed, innocent face, and something just clicked off inside me. Not anger, something colder. We talked about this, remember? Pierce said, tilting his head like a confused puppy. You said it was cool. We had never talked about anything, not once. But my parents were already nodding along because Pierce said so. And Pierce's word was law in that house. I lost it, not my proudest moment. I yelled at him right there in front of everyone. Called him a liar. Told him he ruins everything. My dad grabbed my arm hard enough to leave a mark and told me to sit in the car until I learned how to act like a man. So I sat in the parking lot of Gino's Pizzeria, watching through the window as a 15-year-old kid who had been in my house for 8 years blew out candles on my birthday cake. My friends were shuffled out shortly after because they created a scene by telling my parents this was not fair. 3 of my closest guys got kicked out for defending me. That was the night I started planning. I just sat in that car and thought, I need to get out of here and I need to never come back. I had no idea it would take years for the full consequences to land, but when they did, they landed on everyone. Let me rewind. I, a 23-year-old male, was 8 when my parents brought Pierce home. He was 7, pulled out of a rough foster situation in another county. My parents were not rich by any definition. Dad was a facilities technician at the school district. Mom did part-time clerical work. We lived in a 3-bedroom ranch house in a suburb outside of Columbus, Ohio, that looked fine from the outside but was held together with credit cards and delayed maintenance. At first, I was excited. I had always wanted a brother. Pierce seemed shy, quiet, a little jumpy around loud noises. I felt bad for the kid. I gave him my bottom bunk, shared my stuff, tried to make him feel at home. That lasted maybe 4 months. Here is the thing about Pierce. He was smart. Not book smart, people smart. By the time he was 9, he had figured out exactly how my parents worked. He knew their guilt. He knew their need to feel like saviors. And he played them like an instrument. Let me give you the highlight reel. The trauma card. Anytime I got something, Pierce got quiet, not angry, quiet. He would sit in his room alone until my mom came to the door. Then nothing. I did not have stuff like this before. It is fine. Whatever I got, he got something better within the week. Christmas when I was 10, I asked for a basketball. I got a used one from a garage sale. Pierce asked for a Game Boy. Brand new, still in the box. My mom's logic. Pierce never had a real Christmas before. You have had 10. Same cycle every year. New sneakers for gym in 7th grade. Make the old ones last. Pierce wanted $90 soccer cleats that same month. Done. Graphing calculator for pre-algebra. Borrow one from the library. Pierce's backpack zipper broke. Mom drove him to the mall that afternoon. It was never about money. It was about priority, and I was not one. Triangulation. Pierce told me one thing and my parents another, then sat back and watched the explosion. When I was 12, a $40 school trip to the Science Museum. I gave the permission slip to my mom. Day before, cannot afford it. We just paid $175 for Pierce's soccer registration. Pierce at dinner. I asked them to let you go instead, but they said no. Later, I overheard him on the house phone telling my aunt I did not even want to go anyway. He made sure I looked ungrateful from every angle, weaponized innocence. The kid could cry on command. Anytime I called him out in front of my parents, tears and floor staring. My dad would immediately turn on me. Why are you picking on him? He has been through more than you will ever understand. Standard line. Every time. And every time I was the bad guy. By the time I was 13, I had mentally checked out of family life. I ate dinner alone in my room when I could. I stopped asking for things. I stopped expecting things. The worst part, I think my parents genuinely did not see it. They were not evil. They were just weak. Pierce had found the exploit in their operating system, and he ran it 24/7. After the birthday disaster at Gino's, something shifted in me permanently. I was not sad anymore. I was not angry. I was done. But I was 16, no money, no car, no job. So, I could not just leave, I had to build a runway. And I had to do it without anyone noticing. First smart thing I did, I talked to my guidance counselor at school. I did not dump my whole life story on him. I just told him I wanted to go to college. I had no financial support from home, and I needed to know what my options were. He was the first adult who looked at me like I was worth listening to. He laid out the whole roadmap: grades, scholarships, financial aid, work study, emancipation, if it came to it. Second smart thing, I got a job. I started bussing tables at a diner called Hank's off Route 33, $7.50 an hour plus tips, 3 nights a week and Saturdays. My parents did not care because it meant I was out of the house, which made Pierce's life easy. I told them I was saving for a car. I was actually saving for an exit. Third thing, and this is the one that almost blew up on me, I opened a bank account. At 16, you technically need a parent or guardian on a minor account in Ohio. But my guidance counselor connected me with a credit union that had a youth independence program. I set up an account with direct deposit from the diner. It was not much. After 8 months, I had $2,340. After a year, $4,100. By the time I turned 17 and picked up a second weekend gig stocking shelves at a hardware store, I was pulling in around $700 a month and banking almost all of it. My parents never asked where the money was going. They never checked. As far as they were concerned, I was just the quiet kid who did not cause problems anymore, exactly how I wanted it. Meanwhile, Pierce was getting worse. At 15, he wanted a new phone. Got it. Wanted a gaming personal computer. Got it. On a credit card my parents could not afford. When I pointed out that we did not have that kind of money, my dad snapped at me. Do not worry about our finances, worry about your attitude. I stopped pointing things out after that. I learned the rules of the house. Pierce's wants were needs and my needs were inconveniences. The hardest part of those years was not the favoritism itself. It was watching it happen in real time while nobody acknowledged it. Thanksgiving. My parents let Pierce invite 2 friends over for dinner. I asked to invite Travis. We do not have room. There were 3 empty chairs at the table. My birthday at 14. Nothing. No card, no cake, no acknowledgement. Pierce's birthday 3 weeks later. My mom baked a red velvet cake from scratch and they all sang. I was in my room with the door shut, listening through the wall. I started eating lunch alone at school because I did not have the energy to pretend things were fine. My grades dipped for a semester in 9th grade. Not because I was dumb, but because I did not see the point. Why work hard when no one notices? My guidance counselor flagged it, pulled me into his office. I think he could tell something was off at home. But I was not ready to talk yet. He just said, "Your grades are slipping, and I do not think it is because you cannot do the work. Come see me if you want to talk about what is going on." I did not go back for almost a year, but I remembered. He offered. The near miss happened about 4 months before my 18th birthday. Pierce went into my room, something he did regularly because boundaries did not exist for him, and found a folder under my mattress. Inside was a printed list of apartments, a savings account summary I had printed at the credit union, and a move-out checklist. He did not tell my parents. Instead, he tried to blackmail me, walked up to me in the kitchen and said, "I found your little plan. What is it worth to you?" I looked him dead in the face and said nothing, because if you tell them I will leave tonight instead of in 4 months. And then who are they going to blame for everything? He blinked, thought about it, and walked away because he needed me there. I was his contrast. Without the neglected kid in the house, he was just another kid, and that scared him. That was the moment I knew I had leverage, even if it was small. Pierce needed me to stay invisible so he could stay golden. I kept my head down, kept working, kept saving. By my 18th birthday, I had $8,760 in my account and a plan that was airtight. Almost. My 18th birthday fell on a Wednesday, January 19th. I had already lined up a room in a shared apartment about 90 minutes east near a community college I had been accepted to. Rent was $525 a month. Utilities split 3 ways. My roommates were 2 guys I'd connected with through an online housing board. Both students, both chill. I had borrowed Travis's car twice to drive out there, see the place, and sign the lease. I used my hardware store manager's address as my mailing address for the lease documents, so nothing came to my parents' house. The plan was simple. Birthday morning, load 2 bags into my buddy Travis's car, drive east, start over. Here is where it almost collapsed. Travis's car broke down the night before. The alternator was dead in his driveway. He called me at 10 p.m., panicking. I sat on my bedroom floor, staring at the ceiling for about 45 minutes, trying to figure out a plan B. I thought about a Greyhound, but the nearest station was 12 miles away, and I had no ride there either. I thought about calling a cab, but 90 minutes of fare would eat almost $200 I could not afford to lose. Finally, I called Travis's older brother, Nico. Nico worked night shifts at a distribution warehouse and had a truck. He owed Travis a favor. He said he could take me, but we had to leave by 5:30 a.m. because he needed to sleep before his next shift. Done. Morning comes. Nobody in the house is awake yet. I had packed everything the night before, 2 duffel bags, a backpack, my laptop, my documents. I crept downstairs and made it to the front door before the hallway light flicked on. My mom was standing there in her robe. "Where are you going with those bags?" I told her the truth. "I am moving out. Today is my birthday. I am 18. She went from confused to panicked to furious in about 8 seconds. She called my dad. He came storming down the hallway in his boxers. Pierce appeared at the top of the stairs like he had a front row ticket. My dad blocked the door. "You are not going anywhere. We did not agree to this." "You do not have to agree," I said. "I am a legal adult." Then my mom hit me with, "We were going to celebrate your birthday with Pierce's next month. We already talked about this. Same script every time. My birthday was not mine. My life was not mine. Everything was filtered through what worked for Pierce." "You did not even remember it was my birthday until I told you 30 seconds ago," I said. My dad puffed up. "You are grounded. Go to your room." "I am 18. You cannot ground me," Pierce chimed in from the stairs. "Brother, just relax. You are making mom cry." Classic move. Reframe me as the aggressor. Make my exit look like an attack on the family. Nico honked outside twice. I picked up my bags and walked toward the door. My dad grabbed one of them. I did not yank it back. I just looked at him and said, "If you do not let go, I will call the police. I am an adult, and these are my things." He let go. I think the word police short-circuited him. Nobody had ever pushed back in that house. Not like that. I walked out, got in Nico's truck, and did not look back. My mom was on the porch crying. My dad was standing behind the storm door with his arms crossed. Pierce was at the upstairs window watching. I blocked both my parents' numbers before we hit the highway. I changed my social media to private. I told Travis and Nico not to give out my information to anyone. Travis slipped up 5 years later, but I will get to that. The first month sucked. Air mattress, temporary warehouse shifts, and eating like I was prepping for the apocalypse. Community college started 2 weeks later. 30 hours a week at work, 12 credit hours. It was not glamorous, but everything I was building was mine. Nobody could hand it to Pierce. Nobody could take it away because someone else deserved it more. Over the next few years, I kept my head down, finished school, and landed an information technology administrative job at a regional insurance company. By 23, I had my own place, a used Civic, about $11,000 in savings, and zero contact with anyone from my old life. Clean slate. That is when 2 things happened in the same month that cracked everything wide open. First, I started dating a girl named Janelle. I met her through a coworker's barbecue. She was 25, worked as a leasing agent at a property management company, and seemed solid. She was funny, direct, did not play games, or so I thought. For the first 3 months she was great, supportive, interested in my life, asked questions about my family. And when I told her the short version, estranged, "Do not talk to them," she said, "Good. You do not know anybody who treated you like that." I should have noticed that she memorized every detail I told her. At the time, I thought she just cared. Then I got a phone call from an unknown number on a Tuesday night. I usually let those go to voicemail, but I picked up because the area code was familiar. It was my mom. She was crying, said she'd been looking for me for years. She got my number from Travis. Yes, the same Travis who promised not to give it out. He caved when my mom showed up at his parents' house sobbing about her missing son. I could not even be mad at him. She was manipulative in her own way. Where do you think Pierce learned it? She wanted to meet in person. I said no home visits, no address sharing. We agreed on a diner halfway between us, a place off Interstate 7 near Zanesville, neutral ground. I drove out there the following Saturday. She brought my dad. They looked older, tired. My dad had gained weight. My mom's hair was mostly gray now. Part of me felt something. I am not going to lie, but I kept it locked. We sat in a booth by the window. The waitress brought coffee. Nobody ordered food. My mom kept reaching across the table to touch my hand, and I kept pulling it back. Not to be cruel, I just did not trust it. Every time that woman got touchy-feely, a favor was right behind it. Then I waited because I knew this was not about reconciliation. It took my mom about 20 minutes to get to the point. Pierce had needed a car for his 21st birthday. They co-signed a loan for him, $28,000 for a Dodge Charger. Pierce made payments for 3 months, then stopped. The bank came after my parents as co-signers. They were drowning, behind on the mortgage, behind on 2 credit cards. Total debt, they mentioned around $43,000. "We just need a little help," my mom said. "Even $5,000 would keep us above water." My dad could not even look at me. He just stared at his coffee. I asked them one question. "Are you going to apologize for how you treated me?" They both stared at me blankly. "Apologize for what?" my dad said. "You left on your own." My mom added, "We did not kick you out." I let the silence hang for about 10 seconds. Then I said, "I need to think about it. Give me a couple weeks." I drove home and did not even go inside my apartment right away. It was not the debt number that got me. People drown in debt every day in Ohio like it is a hobby. It was the part where they could not name a single thing they did wrong. Not one. They had a script in their heads where I was the villain, and they were the confused victims of my attitude. I went upstairs and told Janelle the short version. She did not react like a normal person. Normal people go, "That is messed up." Janelle went full project manager. She asked for the debt totals, the lender names, the car model, the cosign details like she was prepping a closing statement. Then she hit me with, "You cannot just let them lose the house. If it happens, everyone is going to look at you. Everyone, not them, not Pierce, me." For the next week, she kept pushing solutions. That all ended with my money leaving my account fast. Then she started making little requests. Add her as an authorized user on my card, for emergencies. Let her see my savings app. I am not judging. I just want a plan. Give her my mom's number. If we handle this the right way, they will respect you more. That felt familiar. Same energy as my parents. People who hear no and think it is the start of a conversation. I told her no. Calm, firm. She laughed it off like it was a joke, but her face tightened the way people do when they realize you are not the easy version of you. What I did not realize until later. My mom's call from the unknown number was still in my recent calls. Janelle had access to my phone while I slept. She did not need me to give her the number. She just needed me to not be paying attention. Over the next few weeks, I started looking into things. My mom mentioned a credit card they opened years ago that Pierce was supposed to pay off. She said it casually like it was nothing, so I pulled my own credit report, full 3 bureau, and that is when I found it. 3 accounts I had never opened. A Capital One card with a $6,200 balance, opened when I was 16. A store credit card from a furniture chain, $2,100, opened when I was 17. And a personal loan through a local credit union, $8,400, opened 6 months after I turned 18, probably figuring I would never check my credit. Total $16,700 in debt under my name that I never authorized. My hands were shaking when I read the report. I did not react immediately. That is the thing about real revenge. It is not a hot move. It is a slow build. First thing I did, I called the Federal Trade Commission and filed an identity theft report. I got a case number. Then I filed disputes with all 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, citing the fraudulent accounts and attaching the Federal Trade Commission report. I also filed a police report in my current county, which created an official record. Then I consulted a consumer rights attorney. Free initial consultation, 30 minutes, but that is all I needed. She told me identity fraud in Ohio falls under Revised Code 2009-13.49, and the degree depends on the amount. Under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, I could force the creditors to investigate and get those accounts removed. If the accounts were confirmed as unauthorized, the creditors could pursue the actual applicants, meaning whoever used my information. She also told me something I did not expect. If my parents applied using my social security number, and I could prove I did not authorize it, they could face criminal charges. Identity theft of a minor child is a felony in Ohio. The degree depends on the total value, but at $16,700 we were well past the threshold. I was not sure yet if I wanted to go that far, but I kept every document, every letter, every case number. I built a folder, digital and physical, backed it up to a secure cloud drive, because here is what I learned growing up invisible. Nothing counts unless there is a record. While all that was in motion, 2 things happened that cranked the chaos up fast. First, chaos spike. My parents filed a police wellness check on me. I came home from work on a Thursday to find 2 officers at my apartment door. Someone had called concerned about my mental state and my isolation from family. I was calm, showed them identification, told them I was fine, told them I had an estranged family situation, and this was likely a harassment tactic. They took notes, said I was not obligated to contact anyone, and left. But they left a report number. I saved it. Second chaos spike. Pierce showed up at my office building on a Monday morning. Building security called up to my floor. "There is a Pierce in the lobby asking for you, says he is your brother." I told them I had no authorized visitors by that name and to log the interaction. He left, but not before telling the front desk that I was having a breakdown and the family was worried. Pattern. First the wellness check, then the lobby visit. They were not trying to reconnect. They were building a paper trail to make me look unstable, probably to use later if I push back on the debt. I had seen Pierce run this play my whole life. Make the other person look crazy. Become the concerned party. Control the story. I reported both incidents to Human Resources and asked for my photo to be added to the front desk's no information release list. Now here is where Janelle went fully off the rails. I told her about the credit fraud, the 3 accounts, the $16,700. Her first reaction, "Oh my God, that is insane, you should confront them." Then in the same breath, "But maybe do not report it yet. Use it as leverage. Tell them you will drop it if they pay you back. That is not how this works. That is also borderline extortion, which she either did not know or did not care about. When I told her I was going through official channels, she got agitated. You are making this way more complicated than it needs to be. Just talk to them. I told her I needed to handle this my way. She dropped it, or so I thought. 2 days later, my mom called from an unknown number. I did not pick up. She left a voicemail that was not even subtle. Sweetheart, I know where you work. We just want to talk. I did not give them my workplace. I did not give Travis my workplace. I did not post it anywhere. That meant one thing. And that is when I noticed Janelle had been asking what time I got off work, what entrance I used, whether we had security in the lobby. She was not helping. She was positioning. That night, I got an email from my building's front desk distribution list. It was a routine security bulletin, except my name was in it. Visitor attempted to gain access to 4th floor, asked for me by full name. Visitor stated they were family. My mom had not found me. She had been delivered. One night the following week, Janelle let it slip herself. We were sitting on the couch and she said it casually like it was nothing. I told your mom you were not a bad guy. I told her you were just being stubborn because you were stressed. Stubborn? There it was. I did not yell. I did not argue. I just asked one question. What exactly did you tell her? Janelle did that thing where she tries to keep control by laughing. Relax. I did not give her anything important. Did you tell her where I work? Silence. Then she already knew. No, she did not. She knew because Janelle told her. And based on the lobby visit and the voicemail, she had also told her approximately how much I had in savings because my mom had mentioned to a mutual contact that I had money and was being selfish. I did not confront further. I did what I have done since I was 16. I collected proof. I changed every password and enabled 2-factor authentication on everything. I moved $6,000 to a new savings account at a different bank Janelle did not know about. I checked my lease. Janelle was not on it. No legal occupancy agreement, no utilities in her name. Ohio does not have common law marriage. I could revoke access legally without a formal eviction. I called my landlord about changing the locks. He said, as long as I used a licensed locksmith and gave him a copy, no problem. The next Saturday, while Janelle was at brunch, I packed her stuff. Every piece of clothing, every product, every charger, boxed it neatly, took photos of every item, recorded a short video showing the boxes sealed and intact, changed the locks, left her property outside my apartment door under the hallway camera. Then I sent one text. Your stuff is outside. Do not come to my job. Do not contact my family. Do not contact me again. No debate, no closure speech, just a wall. Done. She lost it. Over the next 2 weeks, 36 texts. I counted them when I compiled the file for my attorney. Some begging, some threatening to tell everyone what kind of person I am. Some playing victim, a few were unhinged, walls of text at 2 a.m. with no punctuation, jumping from apologies to accusations in the same paragraph. She called my coworkers. My buddy Brandon told me she called him asking if I was seeing someone else already. She showed up at my office lobby, told the front desk she was my fiancé. We were not engaged. We were not even together anymore. Security logged it. Human resources documented it. I did not go down. When she posted online about how I was financially controlling and punishing my parents, tagging vague details only people in my office would recognize, I did not engage. I screenshotted it, timestamped it, and added it to the growing file. Then she made the mistake that ended her. She contacted my mom again, and my mom, thinking it would guilt me, forwarded the message to me. Janelle had typed, "He has the money. He is just trying to hurt you." There it was. Motive, coordination, interference in writing. I saved it, added it to the folder, and filed for a civil stalking protection order under Revised Code 2009-03.214 based on the pattern. Repeated unwanted contact, workplace visits, threats, and coordinating with third parties to access my personal information. That hearing date became my countdown. Meanwhile, the credit bureau investigations were moving. Capital One confirmed the signature did not match mine. The furniture store account had been opened in store with a physical identification. Someone used my information in person. The credit union loan had a CO applicant, my mother. One of the creditors initially tried to verify the accounts as legitimate. That was a full week of cold dread sitting at my desk, knowing that if the investigation went sideways, I would be stuck fighting the debt anyway. My attorney filed a follow-up dispute with additional documentation. They reversed it. All 3 accounts were flagged as confirmed fraud. Collection activity on my name was frozen. My credit score, which had been dragged to 588, started climbing back up. The police report triggered a referral to the county prosecutor's office. 3 counts. And because the credit union application listed my mom as CO applicant, there was now a direct paper trail. I sent my parents a certified letter. Not a rant, not a motion, just the account numbers, the dispute case identifications, the Federal Trade Commission report number, the police report number, and a demand for full restitution within 60 days, or I would cooperate fully with any criminal investigation. Sent via certified mail, return receipt requested. They signed for it on a Thursday. The clock started ticking. Legal stuff moves the way it always moved. Slow, then sudden. 11 days after my parents got the letter, the credit union launched an internal fraud review. They pulled the original loan application, my social security number, but my parents' home address and my mother's phone number. The loan officer who processed it had retired, but the records were clear. The credit union reported the fraud to their banking regulator and referred the case for prosecution. My parents' accounts at that same credit union got frozen pending review. Mortgage autopay bounced. Late notice from the servicer. Collection calls. The same house they loved to threaten me with as a kid suddenly felt very small. My dad scrambled to make a manual payment from a different account just to keep the default clock from advancing. And even then, the late mark hit their credit report like a freight train. Pierce's Charger got repossessed around the same time. Deficiency balance. The gap between what the car sold for at auction and what was still owed was $11,600. The lender filed a civil judgment against both Pierce and my parents as co-signers. So, let us tally it up. $16,700 in identity theft restitution. I was demanding $11,600 deficiency judgment from the car loan, a frozen bank account, a mortgage teetering on default, and a county prosecutor's office reviewing 3 counts of identity theft. I did not cause any of that. I just stopped absorbing it. The protection order hearing against Janelle happened in early March. She showed up without a lawyer, brought an outfit, not a defense. She tried to talk over the judge, tried to cry on command, tried to say I was punishing her because she cared too much. The judge did not care about her narrative. The judge cared about my binder. 36 unwanted texts, workplace visit logs, human resources incident reports, screenshots of her coordinating with my estranged family, the forwarded message about my savings, pattern exposed, clean, protection order granted, 1 year. And because Janelle worked in property management, handling tenant information, lease applications, background checks, financial documents, her employer took a very dim view of her off-the-clock behavior. My attorney sent her employer a letter laying out everything she had been doing. They did not fire her for the protection order. They fired her for conduct unbecoming. After reviewing the pattern, that was not revenge. That was her walking into a professional environment, holding a lit match. Now, the certified letter's 60-day window expired with no response from my parents. No payment, no acknowledgement, nothing. My attorney followed up with a second letter, basically telling them I was cooperating with every investigation and coming after the money. I filed in small claims for the maximum $6,000, Ohio's cap under revised code 1925.02. My parents did not show up to the hearing, default judgment. The court ordered restitution. When they did not pay, I filed for wage garnishment. My dad's facility's paycheck started getting docked $312 every 2 weeks. Then I did the simplest thing and probably the most devastating. I had kept every text, email, voicemail, and document from the past 6 months. I compiled a clean, factual timeline. No commentary, no emotional language, just dates, documents, and quotes. The credit report, the Federal Trade Commission filing number, the police report, the certified letters, the forwarded message from my mom where Janelle had written, "He has the money. He is just trying to hurt you." And one text from my mom to Janelle that read, "We used his info because he was not using it anyway." That line alone was enough. I sent it to my dad's 2 brothers and my mom's sister, the only extended family I had contact information for. With a single line at the top, "I am sharing this so you have the full picture. I will not be discussing it further." My uncle, my dad's older brother, called me the next day. I had no idea. None of us did. My parents had been telling the family that I abandoned them out of nowhere and refused to help when they needed it most. The identity theft, the fraud, the favoritism, none of it had been mentioned. My parents had controlled the narrative for 5 years, and everybody bought it because I was not around to say otherwise. My aunt, my mom's sister, was livid. She had loaned my parents $3,000 the previous year because my mom told her they were struggling after their son cut them off. That $3,000 went straight to Pierce's bills. My aunt called a family meeting my parents did not attend. My mom's sister demanded her money back. My dad's brothers stopped returning calls. The family WhatsApp group went silent for 3 weeks, and when it restarted, my parents were not in it. The social fallout was almost worse than the legal fallout because debt you can negotiate, garnishment you can survive. But when your own siblings will not pick up the phone, that is a different kind of broke. The room where it ended. 5 months after the protection order, 3 months after the garnishment started, late summer, The county prosecutor's office wanted a victim statement on the identity fraud case. Not a trial, not yet. A formal meeting. I showed up. I was not about to dodge it. The lobby was beige, government beige, the kind that makes you feel like you were already in trouble. And then I saw them. My parents sitting in plastic chairs like they were waiting to renew plates at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. Pierce with them, tapping his foot, jaw tight, wearing the exact expression he used when he did not get his way as a kid. And behind them, like the universe was writing its own subplot just to test me, Janelle. Not next to me, not on my side. Sitting with them, she did not even look embarrassed. She looked pleased, like she had finally found her audience. My attorney raised an eyebrow at me like, "Are you seeing this?" And I nodded once, calm. He immediately flagged it to the prosecutor's office. Janelle had an active protection order barring contact with me, and showing up to a meeting where I was giving a victim statement was a potential violation. They noted it for the record and told her she could stay in the lobby but was not permitted in the conference room. We went into a conference room. No dramatic courtroom, just a table, a prosecutor, and a recorder. The prosecutor asked if I wanted to speak. I did, briefly. I laid out the dates, the accounts, the address, the CO application, the credit damage, the wellness check harassment, the workplace visits. No feelings, just facts. Every sentence backed by a document that was already in the file. Then my mom tried to talk, not to apologize, to explain. She started with, "We did what we had to do." And I almost laughed because that is the official motto of people who never pay for what they do. Pierce tried to jump in with, "Brother, you are taking it too far," like this was still Gino's and he could puppy face his way out of it. The prosecutor asked if there was anything I wanted to add. I looked at my parents, then Pierce, and I kept it short. "You can call it whatever you want," I said, "but it is identity fraud. It is documented and it has been following me since I was a kid." My dad's hands were shaking. My mom's face was tight, like she was trying not to cry. Pierce looked angry, but it was the kind of anger that comes from losing control, not from being hurt. The prosecutor thanked me and ended the meeting. That was it. No movie ending, no standing ovation, just the state taking notes because the paperwork was real. On the way out, Janelle was still sitting in the lobby because of course she was. She stood up and said it loud enough for the hallway to hear. "He is doing this to destroy them. He has always been vindictive." I did not even look at her when I replied, "You are not part of my life. Stop auditioning." My attorney made a note of it, another civil protection order violation for the file. As I passed the chairs, my mom tried to grab my sleeve. I stepped back. She whispered, "Are you happy now?" I gave her the only honest answer I had. "I am not happy. I am free." I walked out without looking back because that is the only move that ever worked on people who only notice you when they need something. They built their life on my name. I stopped letting them, and the whole thing fell on its own. This story is not just one person's experience, but a mirror reflecting a highly common reality in our society. The personal details may differ, but the underlying lesson is a shared answer for many similar situations. At its core, the conflict here was not simply about money, favoritism, or even betrayal. It was about a long-standing pattern where responsibility, guilt, and the idea of family sacrifice were twisted into tools that allowed unhealthy behavior to continue for years. When a family repeatedly excuses manipulation because someone is seen as more fragile, more deserving, or more tragic, the quiet child in the background often becomes the one expected to endure everything. In many households, harmony is valued so highly that speaking the truth becomes the greater offense, while the original harm is quietly ignored. Over time, this creates a toxic loop. The manipulator grows bolder, the enablers grow more defensive, and the person who refuses to participate in the illusion becomes labeled as cruel, ungrateful, or heartless. The tragedy of this story is that none of the damage appeared overnight. It accumulated slowly through years of small decisions, small excuses, and small moments when fairness was sacrificed to protect the family's preferred narrative. When I step back from the anger of the events themselves, I realize something important that many people watching from the outside often misunderstand. Walking away from a harmful system does not mean you hate your family. Sometimes it simply means you have finally stopped volunteering to be the foundation that keeps the dysfunction standing. I know how uncomfortable that truth can be, because society teaches us that loyalty to family must come before everything else. But loyalty without boundaries is not love, it is permission. And when someone finally says no more, the reaction is almost always the same. The people who benefited from the silence call it cruelty. The people who lost control call it revenge. Yet in reality, it is often the first honest moment the family has faced in years. If you are watching this and something about the story feels familiar, you might understand how difficult it is to draw that line. I remember how terrifying it felt to choose distance instead of approval, truth instead of peacekeeping. But sometimes restoring balance requires someone to break the pattern, even if they become the villain in the story others tell. Boundaries are not acts of destruction, they are acts of correction. They force reality to replace the comfortable myths that families sometimes build to protect themselves from accountability. So let me leave you with one difficult question to think about. If protecting your peace meant exposing the truth about your own family, knowing it could destroy their reputation, divide relatives, and make you the person everyone blames, would you still choose honesty, or would you stay silent just to keep the illusion of family harmony alive?